Jon, it's great to see you. Wonderful job with this film.
Thank you.
I mean, you're essentially holding so many of our childhoods in your hands.
Yes.
Does it feel like a huge responsibility?
It does. I mean, it's interesting as as I've shown footage to people. It's more belongs to your generation. I was already in my 20s when this came out. Though I appreciated how wonderful it was, and the music is undeniable, the story. But as I present this to this new generation, there's such a sense of interest and concern over who's playing what character, what songs are going to be in. And I definitely felt that responsibility all the way through, because you can't just make a movie called The Lion King and then just do your own thing. You have to honor the legacy of what came before. And it's interesting to see as people watch this and what connects to what they grew up with and how it separates itself away. It's a fascinating study into the creative process and into the relationship that we have with cinema. Even though it's 25 years old, it feels like it was, because people watch it over and over again on video. And
I've still got the VHS of the animation, so yeah, it's amazing.
So I'm glad it felt like that you connected with it in a way that you appreciated.
Oh God, I still had lots of tears when I watched this version, so you kept all the emotion. But do you think it was really important that you still kept James Earl Jones as Mustafa, because that voice, you're just not going to find it anywhere else, right?
No, and I think, and if I could do spoiler alert now, I'll talk about what happens to Mufasa. Because Mufasa because the character only is in the story for the beginning, it felt like the original story is about the passing from one generation to the other. And as Simba replaces Mufasa, I felt that James Earl Jones is sort of passing the torch to Donald Glover. Felt like it fit, but also how would you replace that voice? Just from the beginning, it's fascinating what you had to stick exactly the same way and where you could take tremendous liberty. Yeah. And it was that balance that we really thought about and wanted to make sure that we landed this properly.
Yeah, I love that we still think of it as a spoiler, despite how old this film is. Even when I was talking to Chiwetel before, I was like, I don't know, I'm not going to say it because I feel like it's still a spoiler for a new generation.
And maybe this version he doesn't. Maybe that it didn't test well.
Maybe.
Make it, update it. Make it. He lasts all the way to the end.
Love that. What do you see as your role in the circle of life? So not in the food chain.
Right.
But in the journey of life. What have you seen as your role?
Well, I definitely relate more to Mufasa now that I'm older and I'm a dad. You relate to Simba or Nala when you're young, and you can't wait to be king and you can't wait to make your mark on the world. And then what you realize is once you do get in that position, it really means that you're there to protect, to serve, to be part of keeping the circle going. And to pass everything down to the next generation, and that you're a small part of a much bigger thing. And I love that we explore that even further here. I know that Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen as Timon and Pumbaa really improvise a lot, talking about if there's a circle of life. They say there's no circle; it's a line. It doesn't. Whatever you do doesn't affect that guy or that thing over there. It's just do whatever you want. And that's kind of what that's kind of the dark side of those characters, is that there's no sense of any responsibility, no worries. And we deal with that, and I like in this version of that they come around and realize that no, they do have a sense of responsibility in the world.
And in the grand scheme, I mean, your career is incredible, Jon.
Thank you.
We've known you for years, obviously doing Iron Man, and then it's Happy, and obviously did Jungle Book and Chef and so much. So looking back on that, where would you say this ranks in your career achievements?
This was a lot built to this moment, and this was one that it took everything that I learned about music and everything I learned about animation, everything I learned about visual effects, story. It's probably the most powerful story I've ever worked on. I was inheriting something that came before me that connected with so many people, and it deals with themes that I think are the most important themes to deal with, the idea of loss and perseverance and responsibility. And it's one of those that it reaches around the world, that every culture can relate to this. So it really feels like this is an opportunity that I've had that I can't imagine I would have anything like this again. And it feels like a culmination of a career in many ways. And although I continue to tell stories and enjoy, I'm working on The Mandalorian and The Chef Show and all these things, this feels like a bit of a crowning project, a crowning achievement for all the work that the people I've worked with and all these people who've supported me along the way. And it helps me. Again, this is something that's not about me. This is me taking a story that exists already and passing it, trying to elevate it and pass it on to a new audience, new generation. But it definitely felt like there was the most at stake here, and it required the most understanding and all the skills that I had acquired over the course of a career. So it's a big deal to me, and I'm very excited for people to see it, and I hope that people receive it with and understand how much care went into this and how excited we are to share this thing that we all worked so hard on.
I seen it. I loved it.
Yeah,
I cried and laughed and smiled until my jaw hurt because I was just so happy seeing it up on screen. So good job.
Great.
I hope people do love it.
Cheers.
When they see it.
The stuff in the school at home. No!